We are backstage at Merriweather Pavilion. It is DC101's Kerfuffle. The broadcast presented by Mattress Warehouse. And we've got Tim from Rise Against here. Preset.
Preset.
Do you prefer to speak preset or post-set?
Oh, that's a good question. Preset is usually better.
Right, because you're not all worked up and ready to go.
Not too close to the show.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like, you gotta get your mind around the whole thing.
You don't want to drop the mic and then walk right onto the stage.
Yeah.
It's a whole different vibe.
Absolutely.
You guys had an unexpected day off yesterday.
We did. We had a whole unexpected week, actually.
Which is so. That's my question.
Yeah.
Obviously, you guys are touring, so you build in days off if you can. Mm-hmm. But those days that pop up and you don't realize you're going to get it, are you stranded in the city you were going to be in? Are you stranded in the city that you were going to leave and then stop? Are you stranded in the next city? Where do you end up?
On this one, so we did 4 shows in a row last weekend, and ending in Ottawa, and then we all flew home. And that night, we got contacted by. Not just last night's show in Syracuse, which was canceled because Avenged Sevenfold canceled the show. And we got contacted by them. They were canceling. But we also got contacted by a festival in Quebec, French Canada, way north of Quebec City, a town called Rimouski. And they had Avenged booked for Thursday night.
This past Thursday.
Just 2 days ago.
So you had,
or 3 days ago, I guess.
So you had, did you work Friday?
Yeah. So they called us and said, "Can you be 3 hours north of Quebec City by Thursday night and save our festival?"
And you said,
"We said yes."
It's rock and roll right there.
It was pretty insane. If there was like an Olympics for like tour management and logistics and like trucks full of gear and
your people,
visas, our guys,
gold medalists.
Oh my God, what they did was, I mean, we kind of all said yes, but there's no way we're gonna be able to change everything and get our truck who's on its way to Syracuse and our bus which is on its way somewhere else, and everybody else flew home, and we have guys in LA, Denver, Austin, Portland. There's no way it's all happening. And lo and behold, we played a show.
It happened
in Rimouski on Thursday night.
Okay, so I saw that you posted on Twitter some pictures from Quebec.
Yeah.
Did you drive back across the border, or did you fly back?
No, we flew back, and then I'm in Chicago, so I wasn't too far away from here. A lot of the crew guys just carried on, and they've been in Baltimore, D.C. for the last couple of days.
Have you ever driven back and forth across the border, Canadian, U.S.?
Many times, and even back in the day in a van and trailer.
Okay, so that kind of goes into my question. How difficult is it to get a band across the border at the checkpoint? Because flying is kind of different, but you drive it, they got to do the whole stop thing. And
absolutely. Back in the day, I've spent as much as like 8 to 10 hours at the border with a van and trailer. And back then we were a small band. We didn't really know what we were doing. We just knew we had a show in Toronto that night or whatever. We're crossing the border. We're bringing T-shirts in, and we're doing all kinds of wrong things,
Yeah, exactly.
And when those border guards see you coming, they're just like,
"Gotcha,
fresh fish, here we go." And we would just spend all day. They would take our shirts. We didn't realize that Canada had like an embargo with Honduras, and some of our shirts were made
in Honduras,
something like that. Who knew?
Yeah,
all the stuff. They would confiscate it, and they just destroy it, and we're just making $150 a night, saying, "Please give us our size medium blue T-shirts back."
Please.
They want like a list of our gear and serial numbers, and I'm like, I've never even seen a serial number on this instrument before. What do you want from me?
We're just trying to sell shirts at a rock show. Can you please?
Yeah, it's funny. It's harder on smaller bands and easier on bigger bands because at that point you aren't necessarily traveling with your gear all the time.
Yeah.
Your merchandise might be made in Canada, which it is now. So
when you were talking about, your crew got your visas together and make sure passports were back when you're doing it on your own, it's like, what's a visa?
Right.
What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah. I think back then we just didn't know how to do it, and we were trying to cross the border, which in retrospect was probably illegally doing it. And hoping that we would get away with it.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of times we would, and other times they would just stop us, and they would just be really mad at us.
Yeah, because you're a bunch of knuckleheads walking, trying to get across the border.
Oh yeah, we look suspicious.
Yes.
It's like 3 a.m. with 9 of us in a van dressed in black.
Are you coming over here business or pleasure? Well, I'm in a band. It's supposed to be business, but it feels like pleasure. It might be work. Is it? I don't know.
And it's always like, are you making money? It's like, well, they're giving us money, but we're going to spend more than that on gas. So I don't know what you mean by making. It's interesting.
Well, I'm glad you're back into the States.
Yes.
You got back in scene.
Good to be back.
Tell me about you guys are dropping new music on us next week?
Yeah.
It's a reimagination of your catalog. So it's not just the last album. It's kind of you guys over the years. What made you decide, okay, first of all, I've got a different vision for some of these songs that we wrote, and I want to record them and put them out?
Totally. Like doing acoustic songs has been a part of Rise Against since we put Swing Life Away,
Yes.
our third record. It's just been kind of like something we've sort of thrown in there, almost like a curveball for a punk band like us.
Yes.
We've enjoyed like surprising our fans, surprising listeners, and saying this is the range at which we feel like we can do stuff comfortably. And then we had a gap in our schedule over January, and the label was like, if you guys want to get back in the studio, we would support that. And we said, we don't have new songs. We're not ready to get back in the studio, but we would love to get back in the studio. And what started as, let's do 2 or 3 acoustic versions of songs from our most recent record, Wolves. We only had 12 days, so we didn't think we'd get that much done. It snowballed into 10 songs.
Quickly.
Yeah. And over spanning our entire catalog, all the way back to our first record in 2001.
Wow.
We were doing like a fast punk song on a ukulele. And then our second record, we were doing a fast punk song on a piano, and taking some of the songs from the most recent record, Wolves, but also songs like Savior, songs, what else did we do? Miracle, Far From Perfect, a whole bunch of stuff. I had a string section, worked with our producers, Bill Stevenson and Jason Livermore, out of the Blast Room in Colorado. Bill is from Black Flag and Descendants, so we go way back with him, and he's done a lot of our records. It turned into an acoustic album called The Ghost Note Symphonies Volume 1.
Volume 1, yeah.
And it comes out on Friday. Some of the songs are already out there, so you can check it out. But we're super excited about it.
I've heard House on Fire. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Really cool to hear these songs stripped down. And you said it, from Swing Life Away, it's like a punk band doing acoustic does not register. So then to hear it, it's like, oh, it does work. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and like a lot of these songs that you'll hear Rise Against do, like we wrote them on acoustic guitars, so I never even saw like a huge leap from one to the other.
Okay, yeah.
This is just a cool way to record them, and once you added the strings, it became a very haunting sort of vibe happening. We took the songs, we did them very irreverently, and what I mean by that is like we left parts out, put parts in. We just treated them almost like new songs.
Yeah.
It's like if someone's going to hear this for the first time, what would we want them to hear? And we would just play that, And I like it because even I was talking to my 22-year-old nephew who I played some stuff for him, and he was like, I really like that song. And I was like, oh, cool. And I assumed he was talking about the acoustic version of that song.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, the lyrics are great. And I realized, oh, you've never heard that song.
Yeah.
This is your first time hearing it. And I told him that, and I was like, that's on our first record. And he was just like, Tim, I was in kindergarten when the first record came out. And I was like, oh, yeah. But it kind of validated the whole thing. It was like, this is exactly not exactly, but it was like one of the many things I wanted this record to do was reintroduce a lot of our younger fans to a lot of our older stuff.
And this is a great segue to my last question, and we're gonna get political here for a second.
Absolutely.
The other good thing about having these different versions of the songs is your vocals come through, so we really get we crystallize the idea of what you are singing about in these songs, where you put all the noise around it. Maybe I'm just digging on the groove and I'm not really getting in or hearing the lyrics clearly. We hear them a lot clearer now. You've always been, as a band, very out in front of having politics on your sleeve.
Right.
We're seeing a lot now in music that bands are kind of shying away from that, and not for whatever reason. They're just not in the songs anymore. They're not singing about what is going on in the world anymore. Do you feel that's lost? Do you feel that as well as a band who's always gone out of your way to do that? And are you feeling anything now where it's like, okay, we've always kind of been political, now I really want to get political?
Right. Yeah. It's interesting because being a political band and a political punk rock band has been kind of a lonely place for a long time, and at different ebbs and flows of culture, we are either on the tips of somebody's tongue or not, and people either condemn us for being political or they celebrate us for being political. Pop music is very big right now. Politics have never been a part of pop music, or not usually a part of pop music. And so you have a lot of people that are sort of afraid to alienate their fan base by saying something politically. We live in a very polarized time right now, a very divisive time. One thing I would tell those artists that are like kind of holding back the things they are passionate about is that history has shown us, especially through like the 60s and 70s, that you don't have to compromise success by talking politics. We love artists like Neil Young and Bob Dylan, Creedence Clearwater Revival, all this stuff they were talking about in a post-Vietnam America, not just political bands, but bands that live on in the jukeboxes here today in 2018.
Exactly.
Huge artists who were successful, and you could argue they were successful because they talked about this stuff, because they were holding up a mirror to culture and saying, this is what it looks like, and we want this to be in songs. We want it to reflect the way people are really feeling. And I think that part of what got us into this place that we're in right now, where there's this rise of racism and sexism and nationalism in our country, is the sort of apathetic nature of people, but also art. We are inclined to bury our heads in the sand when faced in the face of adversity. We are inclined to put our tail between our legs. And that kind of is one of the reasons I think it got us where we are today. And I feel like we need to learn from that. You kind of need to engage more. And you need to wake up and be vigilant and watch the fights that are taking place and be a part of that battle. I hope music does that. I think it's starting to do it. I'm seeing politics come from some of the major artists of the day, from film, art, literature that's being talked about. I see more messages of feminism happening in pop videos today. I think that's great. It's nice to be less lonely in that environment. And I think musicians have a unique ability, and music has a unique ability to cut through the noise, to distill what's happening on the planet, to speak to listeners in a way that no other art form can. And so if you have that ability and you're passionate about something, please engage. Put it in your work, because you have fans out there that are hungry. I know this because our fans are hungry. They have this insatiable appetite for music that is talking about the way they're feeling instead of ignoring how they're feeling. And so if it's something you feel, if it's not something you feel, don't be a poser. You know, nobody wants to hear your song that's trying to like engage in something that you don't care about. But if you care about it,
don't shut off that spigot.
Absolutely.
Don't shut it off. And you know, it's great. It stinks that I have to say to you, can I ask you a political question?
Right.
Because as an interviewer, I should be, hey, I want to get to know about you. And as somebody who's being interviewed or has a voice, you should be going, yes, bring it on, which is what you exactly said.
Totally.
But it just stinks that I have to kind of tap dance around, hey, can we talk about politics? Is that cool? And hopefully we'll get to the point where it's just you and I having a conversation and you're putting your views out and I'm agreeing or disagreeing and we go from there.
Absolutely.
Tim, thank you so much, man. I appreciate the time and the conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We're live backstage. It's Kerfuffle, DC101.